So without further ado, let me give you the founder of Zionverse. That's India's first gaming metaverse, guys, and also the brain behind Lakshmi NFTs, if you all recall. So I give you Anshul Rustaggi, an alumnus of IIT Delhi, IIM Bangalore, London School of Economics. He's got all the credits to his bill, but gaming stole his genius mind away into now creating these thriving blockchain gaming projects. Anshul, it's an absolute pleasure having you here with us today, and very excited to hear all you have to share with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here and really excited and looking forward to this conversation. Great. So do you want me to just start and give an overview of what we are building, or how would you like me to go forward?
Absolutely anything you'd like to start off with, Anshul. It's, after all, India's project, so it's pretty exciting for all of us out here.
Okay. So at Zionverse, what we are building is a decentralized Roblox in essence for India. Our vision is really that, Web3, the mass adoption has already started from 2021. And we feel that Web3 will be comprising of three main components. One, it'll be immersive. Two, it'll have to have ownership, which will be powered by blockchain and decentralization, which is where a lot of NFTs come into place. And three, it'll also have integrated economics. I think some of these forces have already been in place for some time. We have already seen immersion picking up. So whether we are gamifying education, Google Pay gamified payments with Scratch Card, which actually got them a lot of adoption, or the most recent social networks have actually become games. We moved from text-based posting on Facebook to pictures on Instagram, to videos on TikTok, to now Roblox, Minecraft, PUBG, and Fortnite being the new social networks for the Gen Z. In terms of ownership, obviously, given the concerns we have had with data and privacy, there has been a growing call for people to have control over their data and also the autonomy to decide what to do and how to interact with the ecosystems. The other really big benefit of ownership is that people are really aligned with the ecosystem itself, right? Like whether you are an owner of your house, an important member, even in a startup team, the reason you actually give ESOPs is that people become aligned to the company. As the company grows, they grow, and this alignment actually causes the startup to perform a lot better than in the previous way where wealth creation was only limited to the owners and the up stakeholders of the company itself. Lastly, integrated economics. Look, as humans, we care about two currencies. There is a social currency, what's my status, who do I know, my relationships, and the other is a tangible currency, mostly about money, discount coupons, can I get things for free? And so far in the Web2 world, we have almost seen sort of two parallel economies working. There is a entire economy of digital ecosystems which are being built on social currency itself. And like obviously your Facebook, your Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. And then there's this other economy which is primarily built on tangible currency, the Amazon, Paytm, PhonePe, and the likes, which are really helping you to do real world commerce or helping you to do services which are more money related, all fintech companies included. I think what we have seen happening is social companies are trying to bring money aspects to monetize, and that's a difficulty they have had. Advertisements clearly don't work anymore. Google and Apple already did IDFA. Google is thinking about something similar, so that's going to get clamped down anyway. That thing has already started. Fintech companies and everyone related into finance or money related, like Amazon, are already thinking about how to integrate social currency, which is how apps and businesses like Meesho really took off, which were really playing off social commerce. So the trends for this Web3 move and decentralization are already in place. I think the right time is now, given that we got a mass education of metaverse done thanks to Facebook changing its name to Meta. I think what would have happened over a period of 3 to 4 years in terms of educating the community, educating everyone involved, happened overnight because one of the largest companies in the world, with the success that Facebook has seen, kind of gave the signal to the entire world that Web3 is not speculative. It isn't about whether it will happen. It is already happening, and that move has already started. So what we are doing at Zionverse is our belief on Web3, where metaverse is our gateway. We are building this decentralized world based on Indian culture and mythology, where people will be able to come into this world, create great 3D content, even create their own games very easily, publish it to the world if they want, keep it private. You can have your own digital house, your garden, your digital pets, meet friends, just chit chat or play games together. And ultimately, we'll be connecting businesses, because it will become the place from where businesses actually communicate and interact with their community, and do commerce, and the future of commerce will be through metaverses and Web3 itself. So that's a little bit of overview of what we are building and sort of my view on Web3. Happy to answer any specific questions or tackle any specific areas that are of interest.
So Anshul, you've been gamer all throughout, and you even via family got acquainted with Roblox. There's some very, very interesting anecdotes that you've shared over there. Could you just fill us into the whole world of how the Gen Z, or how kids essentially are adopting in this metaverse? Literally, they are children. They are creating their own worlds, building their own games that that's the place that they all hang out. It'll be great if you could just share with us what the consumer psyche is today, and what this evolution towards metaverse might be like, possibly sharing parallels with Zionverse in the process.
Sure. So see, I think it's a very important question you ask. I have been playing Roblox over the last 6 odd years with my niece, who is based in Canada. And like most preteens in North America, she has been crazy about Roblox. An interesting statistic about Roblox is 85% of 9 to 12-year-old in the US play Roblox actively, and they're an active monthly user for Roblox, right? That's an astounding amount of penetration in any sort of demographic. And I think, the first look you have of platforms like Minecraft and Roblox, they look very basic aesthetically, that they're voxel based. So it's blocky art. They're very different from what now people perceive games to look like, which is a lot more realistic, because like Unreal Engine, which is by Epic Games, which has made Fortnite, is used a lot to even create the latest Star Wars series of Mandalorian, as an example, right? I think the reason that these platforms work and have been growing tremendously is that they offer a lot of freedom, like you said, of creativity, of interaction itself, right? So one really curious thing I found while I was actually playing these games with my niece is, when I was younger, and I have been a gamer sort of all my life, my father got me my first console, which was Atari, when I was really, really young. So I've been hooked on to games ever since. For me, games were a source of entertainment. It was always an objective. It was always an idea that, hey, I've got to finish this mission. And I was very competitive in games, right? So I played Quake 3D quite competitively when I was in IIM, Age of Empires during IIT, etc. And what is curious now with the generation is, it wasn't really about competing, right? And they weren't really even on a particular mission. Like I saw like my niece and her friends would just enter these 3D worlds of Roblox, maybe sit in a car and just roam around the place, and they would just be laughing and giggling. And, they just had their FaceTime on at the same time, because Roblox yet for security concerns does not allow audio or video chat. So they used to have their FaceTime on and be on Roblox and just have a gala time, like even dancing, listening to music inside Roblox, right? It's very different to how I perceived games, or games are perceived by even millennials versus what Gen Z is doing. So that was quite interesting. And by the way, all of this was happening even pre-corona, right? So this wasn't that oh, there was a lockdown, there isn't any way for them to meet in person. Hence, this was a supplement. It wasn't. It was actually a complement to what they were doing. And most of these friends were at their age. Most friends are from your school itself. So they were meeting each other, physically on a daily basis. They would go do their dance classes, piano lessons, swimming classes, etc. Come back, and that hour of hanging out with each other would be a lot more meaningful, a lot more immersive for them because they were part of these worlds. So I think the interesting part is that as a human experience, we just want to have more freedom, have more creativity. The physical world, because of the physical laws, can only offer you a certain set of what you can do, right? And they're able to do that. They have a lot of activities now as kids planned within school, within their extracurriculars. So I think this gives them an area of expanding, what they can interact with, how they can actually collaborate with each other, or just enjoy with each other, where there are no physical boundaries itself, right? Like some of the popular games on Roblox is the one game is Adopt Me, where you really, you can get an egg out of which even a dragon can come out, and you can keep a dragon as a pet. And I think like that to a lot of people is pretty cool. Even if you have a pet at home, in reality, no one can have a dragon at home, right? So you're really fulfilling a lot of fantasies as well. So I think this is the reason why the immersion in such ecosystems really took off. Look, Roblox has primarily targeted preteens. That's where it has grown. Interesting thing about Minecraft is average age of the user is 24-year-old, right? So they are much older than what people would think. And again, the beauty of Minecraft is the people who play it. It's a game which really challenges your creativity to do whatever you want to do, right? And that autonomy and creativity is what has been driving the growth of Minecraft throughout all these years. It's becoming extremely popular in India. Like recently, I was in the bookshop Crossword. There were two moms who were discussing about how hooked their children are to Minecraft. And even though the schools are opening, they just want to keep sort of creating things on Minecraft, right? So, I mean, of course, there are certain negatives to becoming addicted to games, etc. But overall, this is also taking place in India. It's already happening as we speak. Add to that the fact that you can now, own your own assets. You can actually now become a creator and an entrepreneur in a smaller way, open your shop to trade digital goods, even sell like, I'm just forgetting the name. There is another mobile app which is extremely popular with kids, where I discovered that people are buying digital pizza, right? And they actually pay real money to buy the digital pizza and ice cream. And the only point of that is that it looks cool as you're walking around that you're eating pizza. I actually ended up spending money by buying a digital pizza, and it sounds really weird because you're like, what are you going to do with a digital pizza, right? But it just so happens that as you build social connections, you start buying these things because it feels more natural, it feels more real, and hence sort of this immersive world will keep growing. And as we add more economic layer to it and an integrated sort of economic design, it'll attract people from all sorts of demographics.
Great, thanks. May I continue asking questions?
That would be great. You have some interesting insights too, I'm sure.
Sure. So because we have a lot of developers also here, from a development perspective, building an engine that can let users create a game inside a game sounds complex. Could you throw some light on the engineering challenges or any other challenges that you've encountered technically while developing Zionverse?
Yeah, sure. So, see, at Zionverse, we are very inspired with what Minecraft has done. We felt that in terms of having the basic building blocks, voxels, which are just the normal cubes, is actually the most intuitive, because like we play with Lego, like we are given sort of all these different things as kids as well. That's the most intuitive way for us to start creating things, right? So that was one benefit, which is why we went into that area of actually building sort of Lego-like environments. The other is we didn't want to sort of build the entire game engine from scratch. like building it entirely from scratch. There are some companies, one of them is called Core, which is actually building on top of Unreal. And even then, it has taken them 5 years, I think $80 million. They are a team of 100 developers. So building the rendering engine, which is how you show sort of your 3D art, as well as the physics engine, is a very big part. And we decided that that's not really the USP that we are bringing, right? Like Zionverse's rendering engine isn't what we think we can excel in compared to a Unity or Unreal. So we are actually built on top of Unity. And what we have done in terms of tech IP is how do you handle the data when it will become sort of a massive open 3D world like Minecraft maps are, where people are creating, where hundreds of people will be playing simultaneously in one single server. So the tech IP that we really created is that as I keep creating these massive worlds, how can I actually distill that down to data arrays and store them in data arrays rather than 3D models, because otherwise the data bandwidth consumed will be massive. The amount of data I would have to send to the client and even to the RAM will be massive. It will require a lot more GPU energy and a lot more bandwidth. So that's the tech we built, where we are actually converting all this voxel data to data arrays, storing it, and then on the reverse, on a real-time basis, actually rendering that data in the 3D world. So of course, it's a challenge, but we just decided to solve for the puzzle we felt is the most important part, and did not really want to focus on the rendering and the game physics part of it.
Got that. Got that. Pretty interesting. Now, could you also throw some light on the play-to-earn features that you guys are envisioning?
Yeah. So I think, look, to me, this is so far what we see in blockchain games with respect to Axie, etc. And I think they are already aware of this. There are sort of three economies that will work, right? The one economy which is already being built is very similar to what is happening with real money gaming, which is it's a zero-sum game, right? Like people come in with a pool of money. The people who are the winners take away the largest sum. The people who are losers are sort of left behind. And in fact, for the community, it's a negative sum game, because the platform is also going to take some fee, transaction, tax for actually enabling this, right? So that's one component. That component will be there in Zionverse as well. Frankly, the reason to have it is it's the easiest way to kind of build an economic engine, right? Like you don't have to wait for a while to see value creation. As soon as you start playing the game, there is an economic distribution until the time the community demands it. It's a very easy way to kickstart certain people to do it. On a more longer term basis, the two other factors which are going to create our economic value are, one, the social currency itself. So like Web2 games, there will be a thriving sort of aesthetics market where you're buying costumes, where you're buying a cool looking sword, a better house. Like my cow could be upgraded to look something with golden horns, etc. And I just wanted, maybe my dog is wearing a gold collar, or a pretty cool amethyst collar or something like that, because I just want, I relate to it. I want to show it off to people, because it's now a social platform, so that matters. Including the other part would be, I think I'm very inspired from Supercell. I'm still a very big fan of Clash of Clans. Try to play it daily. I do think I play it daily for at least 15 minutes, if not more. Wow. The one thing that Supercell has really cracked and done a fantastic job of is how to monetize time, right? So Supercell isn't play to win. Most of their economy, one way or the other, is substituting tangible currency with the value of time that people have. That model is questionable as to how much it will work in India, because India accounts for 25% of Clash of Clans players, but I think only 1% of its revenue. So those will be some other monetizations that we will build in. And the last will be, as the ecosystem grows, there is a value of even peer-to-peer trading and peer-to-peer markets, right? Whether that's building a game itself, whether that's connecting actual commerce. So my vision eventually for Zionverse is that it will be the place through which you access Web3. So all metaverses will be places for you to access Web3. The other sort of force that we will have in the Web3 world is that because now you will have integrated economics of social currency and sort of tangible currency, there is a very high probability that what we haven't yet seen in Web2 of super app economies actually takes place within the metaverse itself, right? Super apps so far have only been successful in China, not the US, not even India, hardly any other country. And this verticalization of offerings, which was the way to go for Web2, might change because you're really solving for that trifecta of immersion, ownership, and integrated economics. And whoever will be able to do that will have a very powerful network effect, right? And because of that powerful network effect, most of your access to current businesses, so the Amazon of Web3, the Twitter of Web3, the HSBC, ICICI of Web3, the Zerodha of Web3, etc., all will be accessed through these metaverses, and that's where massive value will be created eventually, right? So of course, so the way I see it is there's a lot of value in content, in sort of the real money gaming equivalent, which is zero sum, great for short run, not great for long run, in the natural gaming economy, and ultimately the largest value creator eventually will be bringing digital commerce onto these metaverses.
Fantastic. I also envision the way possibly Chingari is going ahead building their own digital currency. Do you think that social networks themselves might eventually all start gunning for greater engagement with their own users, by creating their own metaverses?
Yeah, look, I think the question is, so one of the things I would say is, are we going to have centralized metaverses or decentralized, right? Like centralized metaverses would mean that we have taken the experience of, let's say, what you do on Facebook and created and made something even more immersive, right? Which is what Facebook's original plan is. You can now start to see that they are actually shifting the goalpost a little bit, and which is good because they're now talking about, no, we want to build a decentralized metaverse, welcome other developers. It's yet to be seen whether it will be truly decentralized, which means that is it permissionless for me to come onto your network, grow my social network, grow whatever progress I have, and can I then take it away to some other place because I just want to, right? So I think there will be a little bit of a struggle. Like, see, as businesses, when people ask us what's our moat, it's very difficult to say that, look, anyone can build what I'm doing and copy it, and the user and the customer can just walk out, right? With no penalty, right? That's not something that has happened yet. And hence, I always talk about the fact that Web3 companies will have a very different DNA than Web2 companies, right? The fact that you have had the technological skill to build a product actually matters even less, because we're now building on an open standard, and whatever Axie has built already is open to you to access and rebuild it in matter of minutes and seconds, right? So the winners will be the people who can serve the community better, who can communicate with that community and give that community a long-term value, right? So it's 100% sort of community first, which is now no more a catchy mission, but it's actually the reality. So yes, will social networks try to build the centralized metaverse? Absolutely. Can that work? See, it all depends on the community. If people eventually feel that a more immersive Instagram is the only thing that they wanted, and ownership and integrated economics is less important, then that's where we end up, right? I think from my view, from the signs I see, is that ownership and integrated economics matter quite a lot to the community. And hence, I think the future will be more decentralized metaverses, not really centralized metaverses. So I don't think that people can just stop at creating immersive platforms. That'll have to be accompanied by giving decentralized ownership and integrating social currency with sort of tangible currency as well.
Got that. I'll give it over to Ananya because it's 6:30. Ananya, do we take questions from the public right now?
We have a lot of questions actually, and yeah, a lot of people are. Firstly, I think before we move on to the other technical questions, a couple of questions about what exactly Zionverse helps with, right? So someone who's absolutely new to Zionverse, what will Zionverse help them do? Create NFTs, build games, play games. So if we could like dissect that a little in for our absolutely someone who's new to blockchain and gaming.
Sure. So yes, Zionverse. See, Zionverse is your 3D environment, your 3D place, your 3D virtual life, which is actually based around Indian culture and mythology. So we have specifically selected that content theme. The reason we have created that content theme is we think as Indians, there are two sort of areas we have a deep emotional connect with. One is cricket. The other is our Indian culture as well as mythology. I think Indian culture and mythology is not only a huge white space, so it makes a lot of business sense, but I personally am a big fan and I love it, right? And the interesting part is to me that when I kind of gave this idea to my team, all of which average age is 23 years old, like probably most startups, I think there was a lot of excitement, right, which increased our conviction to actually do it. As we reached out to the community, as we did Lakshmi NFT in December, the positive feedback we received from everyone that they would love to interact with this content and really understand different stories and consume this content was crazy. So this is a world where you will be able to consume all content around Indian culture and mythology, art, stories, narrations, time periods and characters of those era as well. And yes, you will be able to create firstly your own house to live digitally, your own garden, your own pets. You may choose to invite your friends, you may choose to not invite anyone and just have fun with yourself. You can actually publish that content to as many people as you want, like make it public. We will give you very simple game templates. It will be a lot simpler than even Minecraft, where you are building these worlds, attaching game templates. There'll be a lot of AI, what is called NPC, non-playable characters, where there are AI characters with different behaviors. There'll be millions of those for you to pick and choose. And sort of, again, you can keep this world to yourself, publish it to only friends, publish it to the entire world at large as well. So you are in control of what you create, you are in control of what you publish, and you will be in control of how you monetize it if you choose to monetize it. You can create a marketplace there, you can create assets and sell it. You can involve a game monetization so that as people come to your game and play in your game economy, you also make money from it. There have been a lot of people suggesting us that you should have ways to put product placement. We'll obviously think about it and do that. I mean, we are only at the beginning of creating sort of Zionverse and launching it. There is a lot of work to be done. We are doing something very ambitious. And along with that, by the way, because we are very focused on Indian culture, we are also democratizing content creation for Indian culture, right? So you will see, us helping traditional Indian art, whether that's Gond art, whether that's Bhil, etc. We'll be helping craftsmen. We'll be going into this, these are very much integrated part of our Indian culture, and we are really already working with some of these ecosystems, some social entrepreneurs, to figure out how to create new age ways for us to interact with what is part of our heritage and culture, how to make it more interactive so that you can interact with such things on Zionverse, maybe create comic books out of it, figurines out of it, animation movies out of it. So, there'll be an entire gamut from, I look at it as three set of users. One is the most engaged, who would love to create games, come and play games and interact with the economy in the most interactive way. The second set of users will be the ones who really look at this entire Web3 content NFT space as an asset class, and they will invest in that asset class or consume that asset class. And the last are people who will be the lightest touch, but they'll be consuming content, right? So they'll interact with the comic books, the animation, the figurines, the stories around sort of what we are creating. So we are covering this entire spectrum through content, gaming, as well as integrated economics. So that's the idea. It is definitely very ambitious, but that's what really excites us, and we will be able to, with the help of our community, able to achieve it.
More party.
Pardon me? I think Amit
said more power to you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. And I think, with the whole world thinking about, hey, we can make NFTs too, I'm sure a lot of Indians would have thought of mythology, but when it came down to doing it, you have done it and done it so fabulously that pretty inspiring that the Indian mythology is getting out there. Anshul, to be honest, we have a lot of questions for you coming in. To be honest, I'm not too sure how much time we have, but let's take a couple of them. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So when do you think blockchain games are going to be scalable enough to incorporate all the players in the world? So we are talking about the transition of traditional gamers to blockchain gamers. So how do you think that's kind of foreseen?
Yeah, so I think, look, right now, I think this is a very valid point that blockchains themselves are not very scalable. I think when a lot of the data was being written on chain for Polygon, I think they couldn't handle 100K concurrency in one of the games, and it crashed because the TPS is still low, transaction per second are still low. And look, there are sort of two views here. So I'll tell you how we are building. The way we are building it is, as far as immersion, game, etc. is concerned, it will actually be very centralized because that's the only way to scale it to millions of people playing concurrently. And every user will have a choice to actually write their data on chain whenever they wish to, right? So that minimizes the number of events that are written on chain, yet not compromising on the aspect of ownership and decentralization, right? So I think that's a happy balance that we will have to attain. There are certain games which are already in the market pitching and saying that, the only way the metaverse works is if all 7 billion of us, or if there are 4.5, 5 billion sort of internet or smartphone users, all of us are present at the same time and we can meet each of them and everything will happen on chain and we will enable it. I've been in gaming 4.5 years. From whatever I know, I mean, a lot of people have tried to work out even creating a single server room of 1,000 people, right? We have only been able to do this stably for 100 people yet. We will get to 1,000 people in a couple of years because this is something Roblox and many other people are working on, but it's still 1,000. To make a quantum leap to 1 billion people or even 1 million people is crazy. Yes, Moore's law applies. We will get more processing power. CPU and GPUs will become more powerful. But I guess the question is, would the 100 people want to get to 1 million, or would the 100 people want the art to become more realistic and the effects that they get to become more realistic and be able to get more immersed? My bet is that it will be the more immersion rather than let's just include more people in the single server room, because I don't get it's a utopian world where, hey, I just can go into US, into some far-fetched place and meet a stranger, right? One out of a 5 billion people, versus a benefit of meeting people I know, the community I want to interact with and having a more immersive experience. So I think one is that that will grow still in a little bit of a centralized basis. And then other part would be that, look, blockchains will become higher TPS, but the other aspect would be we will get more protocols, right? I don't see a world where the only chains winning will be Ethereum or Matic or Bitcoin or and so on and so forth. As end use cases grow, we could see a blockchain coming for healthcare. We could see a blockchain coming just to manage DAOs. We could see a blockchain coming just to manage team coordination, right? This is the same thing that we see in Web 2. We shouldn't think of blockchain as currencies. And I hear people say this a lot that, there are really only 10 currencies in the world to worry about. So by the same logic, there should only be 10 blockchains. I mean, the word cryptocurrency, I wish we actually called it crypto coin, even from regulators and legalities perspective and everyone's perspective. It would have actually been easier to sort of frame and build it, because the value of that currency is really to transfer and give you value for doing whatever proof is required by that blockchain, right? Whether it's proof of work, proof of staking, proof of gaming, proof of attendance, proof of voting, proof of figuring out a puzzle, etc., etc. There'll be many blockchains that will come, and gaming will have its specific use cases which will actually grow. I personally don't believe that only Solana or Matic or Ethereum will be the ones where games are created. It's a more convenient choice now, right? Like as Zionverse, I can only handle a limited amount of puzzles. Like, I don't want to start building the blockchain for us, but as we grow, there would be enough use case for us to grow. It's pretty similar to why Amazon built AWS, right? If you see the journey of Amazon, every cost, they built the business first. Every cost center was then built into a profitable business later and offered as a service, right? Whether that's AWS, whether that's their in-ads expenditure to actually grow, whether that's review system, so on and so forth. And I think that's the way Web3 businesses will also grow. I think right now it's a battle between sort of what is always said for Dubai, build it and they will come, versus actually more bottoms up, that as people come to these end use cases, we then figure out what is the infrastructure required and then scale that infrastructure. So we will have these sort of to and fro happening. So blockchains will scale both because we will improve CPU, GPU, but also newer blockchain protocols will come specific to the use cases.
That makes so much sense, actually, Anshul. Actually, that crypto coin aspect of it would have been actually simpler for the world, maybe. But yeah, so one more very interesting question. A little bit of it has been answered by you already. So it's about the new builders, or if someone wants to, start off with building something like you are. So Minecraft is really popular and is owned by Microsoft. Roblox has Roblox Corporation. So what is that kind of a competitive or, the market competition challenge that you faced, or are there any fears over there that's holding you back, or how do you deal with that kind of, competition that's branded very heavily by some big names?
Look, the good part about starting something new is that really, I think if like my background is from finance, and if I look at sort of startup journey from probability of success, it's a bad choice to take, right? Like, I think anyone, like, there are a lot of my friends and say that, oh, like, obviously if you see LinkedIn today, it, like, to me, when I read LinkedIn, it seems like I'm the only founder who's not a billionaire already, right? Like, hey, I founded my company. Like, how is it that I'm not a billionaire and then 100 billionaire, etc.? So my point being that the reality and the statistics of building a company are so against you that, like, if you start thinking about that, you just end up in a paranoia. That doesn't mean that we don't look at sort of competition. I think the odds are against what we are building. The odds of success are obviously very, very against. I think if we achieve what we achieve, the outcome is so large and so impactful and so beautiful that is what makes the journey worth it, right? So in this goal, the way at least I look at it, I look at the end goal more rather than the probabilities of achieving it. So the idea to look at competition is to maybe learn, like I always call it borrowed intelligence, that obviously Minecraft, really intelligent people, what can we learn from them and build and do something better? Same with Roblox, same with Meta, same with every company, same with other startups which are building, right? Yeah. So I think for me, looking at competition and what is happening in the market is more borrowed intelligence. That's also the reason why I love reading books. I learn a lot from it, rather than worrying about the competition and the probability of success. Because I think if you do that, you'll probably never end up starting a company if you really see the statistics behind it.
Yeah. Great. I think, Anshul, we'll take one final question. I'm really sorry, guys. Some of your questions we won't be able to take, but we'll make sure, Anshul, we get those answers out of him, and we'll get back to you with those responses. But a final question. So recently, hackers have been able to break into different NFT marketplaces to steal funds and tokens. Now, if this trend is to be believed, crypto gaming platforms could also be in for security tests. So how are you tackling these concerns, or what are your views on this?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. See, like what ends up happening is there are like in a centralized sort of system, since you can control all the interactions, it is a lot easier to sort of control the flow of information and the protection of information. Like freedom and autonomy comes at a cost, so does decentralization in the same manner. And a lot of it is because the SOPs to follow to protect your account, which everyone needs to do on their own, it's difficult for everybody to sort of read up on that, have the skill to keep following it. And of course, it's an ever evolving technology. Even if you have taken all the right steps, it is a cat and mouse game. There are people who are much smarter. An example I will give you, this is not a security hack directly, is we have a lot of fake Lakshmi NFT collections, and some people unfortunately have bought them because on the official links, our floor price is 1.5 ETH. I mean, we sold at $100. People are reselling it for $5,000, right? So some people get fake because of that. You have to do your own research. There are a lot of spams and scams going on, where you will give your account details if you connect your MetaMask to certain decentralized functions and do not disconnect it. They are able to somehow control your data. What we are doing, as I said, is we are a middle solution. Most things will be centralized, where we know how to protect security much better. We give you the option to decentralize it and take it on chain. Unfortunately, as you take it on chain, since you are the owner and you are the only person in control, a lot of the liability also shifts to the owner, right? So the flip side of ownership and the benefits is that the liability and protection will also come to you. And yes, it's an ever-changing cat and mouse game. I don't think there's an easy answer for me to say, hey, I've done this and no one can ever hack us, etc. I don't think anyone can say that. There are many, many smart people looking to crack systems all the time. And this will remain a cat and mouse game as it has in the Web 2 and even, all the digital world.
True. Great. Thank you so much, Anshul. Let's conclude this session. Do you have anything as your final instructions or any views that you'd like to share with the community out here?
No, I would just like to share at the end that, I'm extremely excited about Web3. I think I do hope that if there is one takeaway from these conversations that people have, is that Web3 is a reality. It definitely is something that needs your attention. Be more curious, learn about it. Obviously, after your analysis, if you feel that you would rather wait to do things in it, that's totally fine. But at least please don't ignore the changes and developments happening on it. It will, in a positive way or in a net positive way, impact all of us. So I think we all should be ready for it in order to contribute to it, in order to also make money from it, make careers on it, or contribute to it in any way we can.
Thank you. This was absolutely great, Anshul. And like I said, we have a lot more questions for you, so we will probably trouble you a little more so that we can reach out to the community with the answers. But let's stay connected, and really glad you joined us this evening.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.